Dr. Senthu Kinshaw from India. Dr. Kinshaw, please deliver your speech.
Yes, is my screen visible to everyone? And my audio is clear?
Both are perfect.
Yeah, thank you. So, okay. And hello everyone, this is Dr. Senthil Kishore from India. I am doing my second year residency in pathology at Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education and Research. And I would like to thank the Emirates Pathology and Digital Pathology Conference Committee for accepting my abstract for the oral presentation here. And my topic for today's discussion will be on the calculation of Ki67 proliferation index in lymph node excision biopsy of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I will be comparing four different methodologies which can be employed to calculate the Ki67 proliferation index and how well they are correlating with one another and with the actual result as well, calculated by an expert pathologist. Okay, the authors will be first author is myself, Dr. Kishore, Sandil Kishore, and second author is Dr. Sandhya Sundaram ma'am, and she is the head and professor of Department of Pathology at Srihar, Chennai, India, and followed by Dr. Priyadarshini ma'am, who is an associate professor at pathology at Srihar, India, and coming to the background of the study, KSQ7, it is a non-histone nuclear and nucleolar protein which is encoded by MKI67 gene mapping to the chromosome of 10q26.2 in humans. The thing is, KS67 was first defined in the city of Kiel in Germany in the number of original clone, that is, it was a 96 well-plated weighted microtiter plate, of which 67th slot got detected. So they are named as Ki67 itself. And it is actually a protein that is present in all stages of phase of cell cycle, that is G1, S, G2, and in mitotic phase, but they are completely absent in the resting phase, that is G0. There are two isoforms that are calculated with a molecular mass of 320 and 359 kilodaltons. The thing is, K67 normally will be present in the entire cell cycle except when the cell exists the G0 cycle. Thing is, when CDK protein complex will phosphorylate the K67 that is normally present, its highest concentration is usually detected when the cell enters into the mitotic phase. That is when the cells are rapidly proliferating. That's what we are detecting by the IHC stains of detecting the K67, but directly proportional to the concentration of K67 is that means that the higher the concentration of KX7, higher the proliferation of the cells is happening. So based on this, what happened? Then the cells exit into the mitotic phase, in which their KX7 and the E2F protein are normally bind to the RB retinoblastoma gene, which is phosphorylated by CDK4/6 complex. So this will activate again the KX7 complex when it exists back into cell cycle. Thus, any mutation with the RB gene and on E2F factors will transcription will lead to exaggerated KC7 and leading to proliferation of the tumor cells or any such etiology. The thing is, the prognostic index of the KX67 is labeling index is well investigated and documented in case of breast, where we use breast panel examination along with ER, HER2/neu. KX67 is also employed for some molecular subtyping of the breast carcinomas, either luminal A, luminal B, basal cell like any such things, and also for neuroendocrine. Neuroendocrine is almost like bread and butter for neuroendocrine tumor, because you have to have KS67 labeling index in order to segregate for a neuroendocrine tumor of grade 1, 2, or 3 or neuroendocrine carcinoma. And in case of lymphomas, the higher KS67 indicates a bad prognosis, particularly in case of a diffuse large B cell lymphomas. Whereas the diffuse large B cell lymphomas, mainstay of therapy will be about rituximab based therapy. That is, in an isolated study, they're saying that the 5-year survival rate of NHL, predominantly DLBCLs, was improved from 47% to 70% because of the rituximab alone. So, because of this thing and the high KX67 expression seems to have been associated with the higher relapse. That is, more the KX67 labeling index, the higher chance of relapse when particularly when treated with the R-CHOP therapy regimen. That is combination of rituximab, cyclophosphamide, doxorubicin, vincristine, and prednisone. So there are some discrepancies in the KC7 index, particularly in the study of Lunenburg Lymphoma Biomarker Consortium conducted in Canada. They're saying that conducted a study of 2451 patients where high KH7 index is established as a good predictor for DLBCL, particularly with rituximab. There are some disparities in the studies, but I found an article saying about the meta-analysis of 28 studies correlating the KH7 expression and the survival outcome of an lymphoma patients, in which they found that the positive correlation between the high KH7 index and the poorer prognosis in the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, particularly of DLBCL, mantle cell lymphomas, and natural killer cell or T cell lymphomas, but they have no association with the Hodgkin's lymphoma. So, in this study, we will be comparing the four different methodologies to calculate the Ki67 proliferation index in the same slide, that is same stain slide, and correlate them with one another, how it's correlating with each other. And this is a retrospective observational study. So inclusion criteria for the study was histopathologically confirmed case of nodal non-Hodgkin's lymphoma with Ki67 slain slides. Sorry. All the other cases other than nodal non-NHL were rejected, and patient with insufficient medical records and cases were not performed because of the inaffordability of the patients. And slides are not available in the department archives because some of the patients might go for second opinion, they might have taken the slides and there, though those were not included in the sections in the study. So material and the methods. So after I get obtained the institutional ethical committee clearance, the stain selection that were 4 millimeter cut sections, which are formalin fixed paraffin embedded blocks, were already stained and kept in the archives of KS7 were taken. And during every batch of KC7, we run as tonsillar tissue as positive control and negative control when we run as a primary antibody with replaced with the buffer was run as negative control. So the case one we used was MIB1 clone, which was pre-diluted and ready to mix sample was obtained from Biogenic from Fremont, California, USA. And antigen retrieval method was tris buffer at pH 8 by heat retrieval method was used. And DAB, that is diabinobenzidine as a chromogen, and hematoxylin as a counter stain were used. And staining was considered positive when brown nuclear staining, sharp crisp brown staining was observed. So four methodologies with which I used were recommended by Neuroendocrine Society of America, and they were eyeballing. First, we'll discuss the eyeballing method, in which in low power examination, that is an 100x magnification, without actually counting the individual tumor cells in the hotspot. First, we scanned through the entire slide was scanned under low power, and we established the hotspot where the high concentration of KS7 is present, and that area is focused upon the high power, sorry, on the low power itself, and we examine under as to quantify that semi quantification or mental calculation of the K7 labeling index was done. This was actually supported by North European Neuroendocrine Tumor Society and North American Neuroendocrine Tumor Society for grading of their neuroendocrine tumors, but no lymphoma society has accepted or graded any of the methodologies that I have mentioned. So this is an hotspot of a lymph node by excision biopsy of stain K67. This area is an entire hotspot. We'll be focusing on the hotspot when we'll be like the pathologist will be using this viewing the slides. We'll give one like mental picture. Okay, we'll give this as 50%, something like that. This what we're eyeballing that. That's what. But it's a calculated thing. So that's what only a trained and board accredited pathologist will be reporting these cases. So that's was given value was taken as an eyeballing method, and then manual counting within microscope. So the tumor cells within a microscopic field, that is a hotspot was detected, but that to the same hotspot was detected, and in the 400x magnification, a hand counter is used. That is a differential counter used for peripheral smear examination will be kept on site, and each individual slide in iSpy with the help of a pointer, an assistant will be there for an expert pathologist, and they will be reporting as positive, and a negative, like how many positives are detected. Then we'll calculate the total number of cells, and then we will calculate the negative number of cells, and after comparing with the H&E sections, because there may be some other cells present in that area for stain deposits, and all this were neglected. So this is also considered as another method of calculation, manual counting with the help of microscope. And the another method will be a manual counting with a printed image of the slide. In this image, we have a special equipment that attached to our camera, which is made by Q Imaging by British Columbia, Canada. And they static image of the hotspot was taken out, printed, that image was printed in a white paper or on photographic paper, and Ka67 tumor cells were negative tumor cells and all visualized and immediately marked with separate colored pens. So this is a screen capture of the Q Capture Pro 7 which we are using currently. So we will be capturing the image of an hotspot, and that will be print will be given simultaneously by a printer attached to the system. And any a pathologist or a resident posted in that field area will be counting number of tumor cells by individually with the different colored markers, and will be identifying, calculating manually what is the percentage of the K67 was present. So all the three methodologies are considered as manual methodologies. For the same slide we will be using. And for the next methodology, we will be using something called as an automated or QPath, which is an open source software which will analyze the TIFF, that is stacked image file format. That average, which in my study, I found that an average data size of an image scan slide for a TIFF will be close to around 1.5 gigabytes. And the positive cell detection after a stain vector calibration that we'll do for initial batches, that will be performed. So this is the slide scanner that we have. I want to disclose that I have no financial commitments with this company, but this is a startup company from India. They are selling a slide scanner for 15,000 USDs. So the QPath will be like an open source flexible software created by Mr. Bankhead, if I'm not wrong, and they are actually very open source. I would like to show a screen capture. Sorry. So this is how the scanner looks like. This is a very cheap and affordable scanner. We can all the archives slides will be there. See, for example, this each slide, this is a skin biopsy, not related to this case. I'm just want to show you the quality of the slide scanner that we have available. See the quality of the stain slides and all these things. This is a case of lepromatous leprosy which was diagnosed today. The quality of the stains and quality of the scanner with no hiccups or anything, smooth interface. So that's what I wanted to show with this slide alone. So we have close to around 80x scanning, which will do wonders actually. So coming back to my original presentation. So such slide for my QA K67 slide were scanned and were converted into TIFF mode so that QPath can actually access. So in this thing, the QPath, I will train the QPath, the already trained one are there. That is positive cell detection, that is nuclear staining. It will count the total number of cell detected and the total number of positive cells detected and will show the positive cell percentage. So this is how it will spit out the data. It is this slide currently had a 38.21% of positive cells, but it has some negative sides as well, which I'll be discussing in the discussion part. So this is how the data sheet I was obtained. So in my case, I have obtained the data from 50 slides in which the specimen ID, which was not a blinded study, I have to disclose this, plus in eyeballing, what was the eyeballing KSC7 obtained. Since eyeballing is a very crude method of estimation, we tend to round up the data. We won't give us 23, 22, 21, particularly for lymphomas. For neuroendocrine tumors, we do manual counting with microscopes, but for lymphoma cases, we tend to round up figures. So only round up figures will be seen 60, 70, 80, something like that. Then comes manual method, that is microscope estimation. This was performed by an expert pathologist, not less than associate professor category. So this is considered as an ideal method and near normal method for the calculation, and rest all were calibrated to this value in this study. And this will be calculated by myself, that is present over there with a hand counter, and my expert pathologist, both my guide and co-guide, Dr. Sandhya Sundaram ma'am and Priyadarshini ma'am, are calculating this study, and then with the help of microscope plus, that is the printed image, which printed from the Q imaging was performed, and then individually marked with the help of my fellow PG residents, and also were performed. And automated one, that is QPath, will spit out the data of what the entire slide has. So this was the data that I obtained. We run a Pearson correlation coefficient, that is comparing the each data with how it correlates with each other. Statistically, everything correlates with everything. That is, eyeballing is correlating with the microscope one, QPath with microscope. So more than 0.9 is considered statistically significant and correlating with each another, having positive correlation coefficient. So all were positively correlation coefficient was there, but certain things come closer to the near normal. That is been considered as the microscope as the near normal because calculated by an expert pathologist there. The printed one, that is the printed manual method counting, after taking the printed image of the slide, comes near normal, near very closer to the near absolute value of the for the microscope. So that's what the study indicated. So for the discussion purpose, the eyeballing considered as a very cheap and fast method. There's no additional cost involved. Less than a minute will take for evaluation. But the problem is that inter-person, inter-observer variation was very limited. I didn't doc. My study's limitation was we didn't do any inter-person variation or intra-person variation as per se, because even as out of the study I performed the same slide, I could see next day now I could give some around the same value, plus or minus 5% was arbitrarily was giving, was seen in this case, but I didn't document those findings in the study. And this was observed in an eyeballing method. But for lymphoma, you can use, but there's no valuable data, but I'm just correlating the study for understanding that. Then manual method is the most cumbersome and very difficult method to employ, because at a time more than 2 or 3 slides cannot be viewed by an expert pathologist, because it is very cumbersome, very eye straining, and my professor and my associates were having trouble, dizziness of vision, where they're coming after screening three case system slides simultaneously next to each other, because that's what tiresome and cumbersome it is to calculate via manual with a microscope. Then via print, it is simple, highly reproducible, has high reproducibility and very consistent, and it is considered it's coming very close to the manual method without the much strain to the eyes. And coming to the QPath, which is has positive correlation with the above mentioned methods, but the thing is that non-tumor cells are counted along with this thing. If having normal lymphocytes are present in this thing, that is also getting counted, plus any endothelial cells, any stromal background cells, any stain deposits, any artifacts, or also the AI cannot distinguish between the artifacts and the non-tumor cells from the positive true normal absolute positive tumor cells, which has K87 stain. So that is one of the disadvantages for the QPath thing. But with the advancement thing, which will come to near normal as well. So the conclusion of the study, above study, which I performed, where automated counting were very accurate, easy to perform, and almost has no variation of interpersonal variation. That is, whoever enters puts a slide and scans after calibrating the same stain vectors, everything comes to same value every time we put in the same slide. Then printed counting, image counting method were more accurate and cheaper, and counted only the non-targeted tumor cells. So it is very accurate, and also the eye strain with that was put on the eyes was very limited when compared to the other methodologies. And disadvantages is length of time required for completion. That is, comparing with the eyeballing method, it takes a lot of time. First, we have to switch on the camera, but then you have to invest on a camera that attached to the microscope. We have to take a separate printer and take a printout and to manually, cumbersomely work on this thing. Take additional workload on the pathologist who's reporting on the case. However, it is much cheaper and accessible and than the automated thing. On comparison with the manual thing, my study suggests that the printed image is printed manual counting by the printed image has more reliable data. Consistent data has been is coming out of the case 7 counting when compared with the other methodologies. Particularly, it has less strain on the eyes on the pathologist reporting in this case. Okay, and these are my references, and I would like to thank Dr. Sandhya Sundaram ma'am, my head and professor, Dr. Pradesh ma'am, associate, and my wife, Dr. Rohita, and Dr. Muruganandam, who is an preventive medicine specialist who did the calculation and statistical analysis, made me understand the statistics. So without these persons, I would not be able to have finished my cases and my this study also. And thank you. I would be happy to answer any question if asked.
Thank you, Dr. Kincher, for this very illustrating presentation. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Are there any questions